Well, good morning. I just got to make sure our YouTube is live and running because this is going to be a good conversation. You're going to want to be able to come back to this conversation later on. So,
Am I?
good morning and happy Thursday. Special Thursdays to you. Before we jump in and let Steve share some of his great knowledge, and some of you don't know who Steve is, I'm sorry that your life has been lacking, but Steve is amazing. I want to hear your wins, your celebrations, and like Christina said, something you're just dang proud of.
I'm proud not to be on Fort Huachuca right now for day two.
Day two, not on the base.
Is that a permanent change, Eric, or just a
I,
2 day
I
streak?
wish. I wish. I don't know, actually. So to be honest with you, I'm under the understanding that our contract ended today, and I haven't heard word.
Well, the bird is the word, obviously.
Obviously. So,
So I'm not sure. Like, I haven't been there in 2 days, so they could have extended it, and I have no idea.
okay. Next win.
Christina, how
I
did your Halloween open house thing go? Did I miss that?
well, I wish we could call that a win, Mara, but it was not,
It was,
unfortunately.
okay. Oh,
It,
bummer.
it,
Okay, but you
it was a
tried.
win for all of us to come together and four of us coordinate for it, and it was awesome.
Awesome, right.
What everybody did, but no, wish turnout had been bigger.
It's all good.
Okay, well, good on you for coordinating.
Now Mara
Well,
has to take the win.
mostly Lydia, but yeah.
Oh, I am headed to a signing right now. It's closing day.
Closing day.
That's what's up, Trey.
Where'd you go, bud?
I got a referral from my sellers that just closed last week.
Woo woo.
Yeah, you did.
Here's a fun win that's going to lean into the conversation of today. I was sitting in a dealership yesterday, and 13 people knew me.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad
I was
thing.
like, is that a fun win or?
I mean, you
Do you
guys
mean you added 13 more people to your database, or they were already in it?
uh, added a couple, gave some business cards away, talked one guy into quitting his job and joining a real estate.
Do it.
So
I'm doing that same thing right now. As actually one of my buyers.
I love that. So I was having lunch with my very close friend, and dare I say, brother, because our haircuts are the same, our mannerisms are the same, our beliefs are similar. Yesterday we were talking because we for some reason tend to have our brother lunch dates the day the Fed makes a decision. And yesterday Steve and I were talking, and I asked him, hey, why don't you come on our call tomorrow morning and kind of share some of this goodness with our agents? Because him and I have some great conversations over some tacos, talking about finances, talking about the business, talking about what's happening in the market, and talking about what expectant changes are coming. And it's going to affect everybody, not just Tucson agents. It's going to be California, Nevada, across the board. Steve's background, if you guys don't know, Steve's been our financial partner a long time. He's the top dog for Fairway here locally. He's the regional vice president, El Capitan Grande the third. I don't know what his title is. I just know he's damn good at what he does, and I trust him with just about every question I have when it comes to mortgage. So, guys, be present, ask questions. If you can take notes, fantastic. If you're driving, that's why we're doing this recorded so that you can go back to it on the YouTube live. So, with no further ado, Mr. Lemons, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. So it's obviously Fed Day again. And, for those of you who have been paying attention to Fed cuts, so this is now 1, 2, 3. This is the fifth Fed cut in a row that they've cut rates, and mortgage rates, which is what we care about in the real estate industry, have gone upward. And I get this every single time, because every single time I walk into it, like going into this, we had a pipeline. I mean, we have about 30 deals closing in November. And my team looks at me and they're like, you seriously want us to call and tell them to lock in before the Fed? And I'm like, yes. How do I have that conversation? They're all thinking rates are going down. I'm like, I get it. Lock. Tell them to lock. Talk through it with them. And here's the reality of mortgage rates and the bond market. And I'm going to use them interchangeably because technically they're tied to each other. Although the 10-year is not a direct relationship to mortgage rates, it is a very close relationship to it. So what is happening is you have to get the purpose of bonds and what they're there for. So bonds obviously are the debt service for the United States. So in other words, we buy the debt of the United States and we get a return on that money. Just like when you have a mortgage and the bank is charging you 6 1/8%, the bank gets the interest at the 6 1/8%. You pay down the principal. Once it's gone, interest is eroded and you just either buy a new mortgage or a new bond, whatever it may be. So when you're looking at a bond, the average return on a bond is somewhere between 4 and 6%. Okay. So when you have things like this print last week on the CPI, which let's not get too deep in the weeds on the CPI because let's get to the brass tacks of that report. 40% of it was made up, and it was made up for political reasons. So I will tell you that I think that number was light based on the data that we've been seeing and some of the recent things that have been occurring in the economy. Yes, Dan.
Let's dumb it down because I believe half the people, if not more, do not know what the CPI is. That is the Consumer Price Index.
Yes.
Right.
And it is the single biggest gauge of year-over-year inflation for the consumer.
Right.
There's other things in there, the PCE, which you hear about, or that's the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, or the PPI, which is the Producer Pricer Index. So the PPI is wholesale, the CPI is retail,
Right.
which is the CPI is a gauge of what the average United States person in the economy is going to feel year over year. The Fed's target since 1913 has been 2%. And what you have to really understand, because we see this number, and again, part of the reason for these reports is they want to make you live in the dark. They want you to think that inflation is at 3%. So keep in mind, that is the change year over year, month by month. Every month we get a report, that's the growth. The aggregated inflation since 2020, let's just say the beginning of 2022 is really when it started. It actually technically started in 2021. We're at about 29%. That's the inflation that has grown in the last 3.5 years. But this CPI report comes out and everyone goes, yeah, but the Fed's cutting rates right now. And no one understands because they think of rates as a bucket of goods and when rates get cut, they all go down. Well, mortgage rates are unique because they're not tied to what the bank's lending rate is. Because they're longer term loans and the size of them, they are tied to mortgage-backed securities, or MBSs is what we refer to them as, which are loosely tied to the 10-year treasury. So the biggest, and I mean biggest, and it's like 90%, this is the reason, and everything else is 10%. 90% of the reason why the bond market moves in an upward direction, which is adverse to interest rates, is due to inflation. So when you have a Fed cutting rates, and I'm going to go back even to September of last year when they started cutting rates, the Fed started cutting rates into inflation. Inflation wasn't curbed, and it's still not curbed. So if you have that, so does anyone, and anyone can say this, you don't need to raise your hand, does anyone know why the Fed cuts rates? The fundamental reason why they would be cutting rates?
Any
Curb
take-
inflation?
Supply and demand.
Okay, anyone else?
Stimulate the economy.
Whoever said that is correct. It is stimulus. So when you put stimulus into economies, what does that mean to inflation? Would that help inflation or hurt inflation?
Hurts it.
Hurts it, right? So it begs the question, why is the Fed cutting rates when we're in an inflationary standpoint, when the number one detractor of bonds is inflation. So the real reason is, and they're not going to say it, and the reason why you see the administration, and this is not a political conversation, so we don't need to get into the whys, the whats, the ifs, and all that crap. The reality of it is the government has to roll over approximately $9 trillion in debt. And this has been on there. They've been faced with it from day one. They knew about it. They knew it was coming. Single biggest amount of rollover in debt in the history of the presidency. So if they roll over debt when the rates were higher, that means the interest carry increases to the government, which is deficit spending, and increases the deficit. This is why you hear Trump and Bessent, which is the Treasury Secretary, banging on the doors to cut rates. Because if you can stimulate government debt lower so they can roll it over, technically that could reduce some of the potential inflation that is generated by government spending. So the Fed is taking a short-term look and going, okay, we need to do this because we don't want to implode the very government that we support, but we need to be careful with it because if we go too fast, it's going to stimulate more inflation and we're going to have a much bigger problem on our hands. So, and for those of you who are economically savvy, the word that I'm referring to, and it's a bad word and you don't like to hear it and no one wants to mention it and you're not going to hear the administration mention it because it's really bad, it's stagflation. We have an economy that is slowing and we have prices that are still moving up. Now, how many think that the price of food has gone down in the last 9 months since the president has been in office?
You guys don't buy enough groceries. Have the price of eggs come down from its high?
It didn't go down.
Okay.
Mine did. I buy those 60
I think
count
it did.
eggs.
So we're talking about eggs, but I'm talking about a basket of goods. Has your food prices really gone down this year?
No.
Now, some things you
All
can
my
see.
prices went up.
Your food prices went up. Okay. Now you can see, for those of you who like to eat fast food, you can see the economy is changing. You just have to be open and you have to have your eyes open to see what's going on. McDonald's, probably the most expensive fast food restaurant out there now.
Nah, Taco Bell for sure.
Okay, there you go. Taco Bell. I don't eat Taco Bell, so, but Dan's going to stop eating Taco Bell because he's working on his waist. So,
You are correct.
So let's use McDonald's as an example. McDonald's in 2020, and I'm going to use this because my daughter eats them all the time. Well, not all the time. We let her have it once a week. We're kind of weird parents that don't let her eat junk that much. So a 2 cheeseburger meal in 2020 was $5.99. Unless you supersized it and all that stuff, it was $5.99. Let's not talk about supersizing. It's not important to this conversation. Fast forward to today, it's $12.79 where we live. So that's how much has that gone up in 4 years? Over 100%, right? It's doubled.
Yeah, 212%.
Yep. So now you see the economy going, okay, wait a second. They're charging all these crazy prices. Inflation's out of control. Whoa, wait a second. Now all of a sudden McDonald's has brought back their dollar menu and their specials, the buy one, get one frees on DoorDash, all of that stuff. This is them trying to flow through their inventory and find a mark to pricing because now they know they're too expensive for the marketplace because people are pushing back. This is what's happening. Finally, I thought it would come about last year, but it's coming around this year because we're resilient Americans. We have debt. We have credit cards. We can float things along longer than we think. And the economy has to get used to this because 20 years ago, when inflation reared its ugly head on it, it'd take about 6 months for the market to react. Now with the ease of credit, with the ease of things, the buy now, pay laters, all of these things, it stretches this date further and further out. The good news about that is we're very resilient Americans and we find ways to solve our, financial problems. And the downside of that is that most of the ways we find and solve our financial problems is through debt. So now it's starting to get to the point where people don't have as much limit or availability on their credit. They're running out of room. So now they're having to make choices. I'm going to eat at In-N-Out Burger versus McDonald's. I mean, I think it's better anyway. But a double fries and a large drink are $10. And they're fresh versus McDonald's. You don't even know if it's real food and they're $13 for the same thing. So now people make choices and then McDonald's has to adjust because they're losing market share. And you can see this with every fast food restaurant right now. They've got deals 2 for $1, buy one, get one 50%. We have a $5 meal at Jack in the Box. We have Arby's with this, all of these different places with all these specials going on. So this is all disinflationary, which is good. It's now just stopping some of the demand because the demand is still on the upward side. As it even slows more, these things will start to disinflate, which is ideally what our administration is hoping for. It's not a given that it's going to happen, but this is what's going on in the economy. Now you go, why did I bring up hamburgers? Because this is housing. This is housing. And how many of you out there, you get an objection? Dan brought it up to me yesterday, hears it all the time. Interest rates need to come down. How many of you get that objection on it? Just raise your hands, put them up. How many of you get that objection during, your buyer process? Okay. So you have to be, if you want to be next level, you've got to dig deeper than, I hope interest rates come down. Because here's the reality of what they're saying. They're not saying interest rates need to come down. They're telling you they can't afford the market currently. You need to dig deeper. Just because they say something, your objection, when they object, that is your first opportunity to sell. So when they say interest rates are high, my next question is, why do you think interest rates are high? Because I want to see if they have COVID, flu still. Or they're just like, oh my gosh, man, I'm just looking at these payments on it at 6% on it, and it's $2,500 for this $350,000 home. Oh, so you're more worried about the payment than the rates. Yes, but the rates are a function of it. Okay? Rates are definitely a function of the payment, and they can affect the payment a lot. Who thinks rates are going back down below 4%? Hands in the air.
Nobody.
Okay.
At least you guys are realistic.
Yep, at least you're realistic, because there's some people out there that are still think rates that are there. Oh my God, Trump's going to bring down rates to 4%. I see it all the time online. I just crack up. Like the president has the control to do that, because he doesn't. So here's what this means, is what they're saying, and what you're starting to see happen in more and more markets. Interest rate can only do so much. Let's look at the builders as an example. They were offering, I've seen 4.99% with a 3-2-1 buy down, start rates of 1.99% for the first year. All of these things, and that worked last year. Builders were doing well still. Now all of a sudden they're like, these specials aren't really working as well. I think we need to lower prices. And then they cut their incentives out. And then all of a sudden they were offering rates at 5.75%, but they were cutting the price 30 or 40 grand. And all of a sudden their market slowed again. Well, we already cut prices. What do we do? Maybe let's try on our inventory homes to put specials back in. Even though we've cut prices, we need to get through this inventory. Let's put a special on that. We're going to do it, but we're not going to go as deep. We're going to go 5.5, but we're going to do a 2-1 buy down. So 3.5 start rate, 4%, 4.5 second year, 5.5 years, 3 through 30. All of a sudden they pick back up again. And the layperson goes, oh my God, it's interest rate driven. It wasn't price. We should have never cut prices. And then the economist comes into the CFO's office and says, you're missing the boat. It's both. So the consumer is speaking, and what they're telling us, we're just not listening, is prices need to come down. And I hate to say this, guys, you're not going to like this. This is not a guarantee, but I'm telling you, there's about a 90% chance of this happening. Home prices are going down. They have to, because the affordability index is so far skewed to the bad side right now. And you have boomers that are dying. And not only are they dying, as we cut interest rates, which we've now cut interest rates 1.5 to 1.75%. Well, technically 1.5%, but we got another one coming in the last 13 months. Do you know the number one place that retired people put their money? Is it invested? Or is it somewhere else?
Probably a trust or a estate.
Okay. And inside of that trust account or estate, is it invested in stocks and securities, or is it safer because they're older?
Stocks.
Okay. So I'm going to let you know this. That
Mutual
is the normal thought, because they're invested on it. You would have an investment return. The average portfolio for somebody who is over 62 years of age is 70% conservative and 30% moderate to aggressive. Conservative is money market accounts. 30% would be equities, different things like that. So if 70% of the massive wealth that the retired people has is in money market accounts, and let's say the average person has $350,000 in money market accounts, okay? The money market accounts are driven by the Fed rate. So in the past 13 months, the interest that they gain on their money in those money market accounts has gone down 1.5%. So if I take $350,000 at 1.5% on an annual basis and divide it by 12 months, it's $437 a month of income that those retired people have lost in the last 13 months. Plus inflation going up, plus all those things. So their overall quality of life has eroded, and they can see it in their face every single day. So now you have boomers going, I'm not buying right now. I'm making less money, and my money's not making as much money for me. I'm going to stay put. Or they're going to sell real estate, or they pass away. So that market is, the buyer demand is way down. And then you have the first-time home buyer market that is going, we can't afford $2,500 a month. We need the prices to go down. When are we going to get $250,000 homes back in the marketplace? So now that market's shut down. So now our market segment for buyer demand is somewhere between the ages of 35 and 55 years old. So now you look at that market, and there's a big transition in the jobs market coming on it to technology. You've seen Amazon. They've announced layoffs in upwards of 30,000 people. Google, Meta, Netflix, all of them, they're cutting jobs. And they're not cutting jobs of somebody making 50 grand. They're cutting jobs between $100,000 and $200,000 a year of income. Low to mid-level engineers primarily. That is our buyer profile that we want to deal with, because the other two buyer profiles are on the fence right now. So now we have this big shakeup in the jobs market in the middle side of the market. And that's where the pause is coming. And this is where you're starting to see the attrition in the market. Are most of you in the Tucson market?
We've
No.
got Sierra Vista, Prescott, Scottsdale, Seattle, or San Diego. So
Okay. So let's talk about those markets I all know pretty well. If there's somebody who said Northwest on it, I don't know the Northwest market as well as them. Sierra Vista, hot market. Why is it hot? President wants the border shut down. He's going against the cartels. He's bringing in a lot of DEA. He's bringing in military to Fort Huachuca. He's bringing in National Guard. He's bringing in Border Patrol, DEA, ICE. All of these things are going there. So it's creating a micro segment in that market where it's doing very well. Tucson is a blue collar city with a lot of retired people. blue collar, a lot of first time home buyers. This market's tough right now. Inventory has gone up almost 600 homes in 45 days. That's a lot. San Diego, highly, highly difficult market when it comes to affordability. That's my hometown. I went to school there, everything. So great market, beautiful place to live. No one can afford it. And the way they afford it is by selling their home that they've made $700,000 on and go buying another home that's more expensive and putting down $500 to $700,000. Or if they're putting down 10% on that $1.5 million home with their $10,000 mortgage payment right now, they're making a lot of money, but they're probably still living paycheck to paycheck. In California, you can make $350,000 a year and live paycheck to paycheck. It's quite a fun place to live. So you've got all these markets that are having affordability issues. And then you've got this one market in Sierra Vista, as an example, is going, lights out. It's crazy down there. A lot of movement, a lot of activity. Now let's bring in Prescott. Somebody said they lived up in Prescott, Paulden, anywhere up in there. Prescott Valley, Chino Valley. This is primarily a second home bedroom community to Phoenix and California and Nevada. So if the economy's feeling it and everyone's feeling the pinch a little bit, that market should naturally be a little trickier right now because that is not a primary residence market in general, although it is becoming more of a community and becoming more of that primary residence market now because the second home buyers aren't buying. So you have all these things going on. And in reality, what you have to get with your clients on this objection is, how are you going to overcome prices going down potentially, but it's going to help their payments in the long run? This is the thing that you have to work on with Dan in terms of how to approach this objection, because the objection is not interest rates, nor if they say housing prices too high, is the objection housing prices. The objection is their monthly payment. And you need to dig into why that's their objection. Because if you're selling to their objection and they say they can afford $2,000 and you keep showing them $350,000 homes, and then there's a $300,000 home comes on the market and it makes sense, you could potentially have a deal. But you may have to shape their expectations and their wants and needs a little bit more than you've ever had to do. Because there's a massive amount of opportunity in this market. And the objection of house prices going down. Perfect. I buy in every market. I'll do it at any time. If I see an opportunity, I'll do it. Because here's the reality of it. People aren't buying homes to invest in them. Their primary residence should never be considered an investment. Probably a little bit shocking to all of you, because that's not the primary reason why they buy it. So why would you sell it like it's an investment? A primary residence offers family stability, quality of life, pride of ownership, psychological thoughts that you own something and it's a good feeling. You need to dig into those emotions, not the financial emotions of this. And there are opportunities there. People in 2007 that bought homes, they were like, oh my God, the market crashed on it and we lost all of our equity. But the people who really loved their homes and could afford it, they stayed through it. They didn't just go, oh, I'm just walking away from that. I lost that bet. Because their primary reason for buying was not for investment purposes. You need to stop selling primary residence as investment potential. Oh, prices are going to go up 12% next year. That should mean nothing to a primary residence buyer. Probably makes them feel good in the moment. But in reality, you need to get into the whys. You need to get into the weeds with them, get into their emotions, get them thinking about things on why they want to buy a home. I can tell you for most people, it's not, I want to make $200,000 on my home in 2 years. Now, if that happens, they're all happy about it, but that's not their reasoning for buying. And as an industry, we need to stop talking about buy the home, date the rate. When rates come down, the market's going to boom. All of these taglines, and we need to start having real conversations with buyers about why they want to buy homes. And until we do that, we're going to have these same objections over and over again, because the problem with this objection, guess who created this objection in their forefront? Everyone on this call, me, you, everyone. Buy them. Rates are going down next year. You can refinance. You guys are a bunch of liars. Everyone's lying right now, and they know you guys have been lying to them for the last 2 years. Stop lying to them. You don't know. I don't know. I don't know if rates are going down. I don't know if they're going up. I know what happens during a micro minute on the Fed or whatever, but I don't know long-term where rates are going. Do I think they're going down? Yes. But we have to get into the emotions and why the buy is happening and leave the financial stuff to that. Now, when that objection comes up, you have to be prepared to handle it from there and look at opportunities and solutions with your lending partners, all of those things to come up with options. But you really need to get into those emotions and get to the feels of why they want to buy the home.
Yeah.
And until we start doing that, it's going to be really difficult for us to get over this hump. And it's a real big issue with our market because everyone keeps talking rates. Everyone's pinned on the Fed. Everyone's pinned on this. The Fed's going to cut rates. Home prices we're going to start selling homes again. No, you can sell homes without the Fed. The Fed's never helped you sell a home anyway, just so you know. We just need to get back to it. We need to get back to selling emotion because that's what people dig on. They dig into that. You give them a little pie in the sky, you're going to make 20%. They forget that in 10 minutes. You tell them that their kids are going to grow up in their house and they're going to have neighbors and they can have a swing in the backyard on that tree that'll have memories for them on it. Those are the things that people care about when it comes down to life. And believe me, life, when we're faced with life on it, you get real clear on what is important in life. And I'm telling you right now, it's not getting 20% on your home. It's about that family structure, that stability, that closeness to your mom who you wanted to take care of, but you don't want to live with her. And that's why you're buying that home. Whatever those reasons are, they're very important and we need to start digging into them. Any questions at all about any of this?
Yeah, Christina's got something. Got
Okay.
a hand up. Maybe.
Sorry, I couldn't get the mute button. Steve, you talked about working with your lending partner, finding solutions, options. Can you give some examples of some things you guys have done, creative ways you've been finding solutions to address that affordability issue?
Yeah, so the biggest thing we do is it's not a one shop gets everyone the same answer. You know, the market we get stuck on things like these 2-1 buy downs, all of those things on it. Truth be known, for me, it's very simple. I dig into their budget.
Yeah.
Which is very weird for a loan officer to do. But the thing I don't ever want, I've had it happen in 2008 and I wasn't doing funny loans. When that buyer calls you telling you that they're going to lose their home, if you're really in it for the right reasons, that's a sad day for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I have spent my career after 2008 educating buyers about budget, where they're spending. I have a retired couple right now. They make $11,500 of net income per month. They have a $3,600 mortgage payment, and we set them up on the purchase to have no more debt. So they literally have a mortgage payment of $3,600 and $11,500 of disposable income. He called me. He's like, Steve, he goes, we're in debt again. And I'm like, okay, well, let's sit down. I sat down with them. I didn't talk to them about a refinance. I don't even have a loan in process with them. They wanted to refinance. I'm like, you don't need to refinance because you're just going to do the same thing over again. I go, we need to dig into the psychology behind why you're doing this. And you need to figure out what you're spending. So I literally pulled up 3 months of bank statements and I'm like, you guys spend $7,000 a month. What the hell are you buying?
Amazon.
Taco Bell.
I don't know. I don't know where it goes. I don't know. How come you don't know? Well, we just, we pay with our credit card or we pay with our debit card and we just pay our bills at the end of the month. And I'm like, this is the problem. No one pays attention anymore. So fast forward, they're now in this new program for 30 days. They spent $1,800 last month. Well, they've got one more day. They may spend a little bit more, but I talked to them yesterday. They were at $1,800. And I go, did you feel that you did anything different? He goes, well, we ate at home a lot more. We made our coffee at home. We did little things to help us out. And we stopped. Every time we went to buy something, we questioned whether or not it was a want or a need. Do we need this or do we want it?
Is that a program you offer? Or is that something that people can go get?
It is. So it's something that we go through with clients on it, especially clients who get into these problems, because there's no reason these people should be in debt. They should technically be saving $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
So we do it, and it's not really a program. A little bit of my background on it. I am a Dave Ramsey certified trainer. So I deal with debt and people's psychology around money all the time. And I break into that with them. And for lack of a better way, and I do it in a nice way, so don't sound like I'm this mean guy. I beat them down. I break them down. Just like the Marine Corps, the military breaks down a service member and builds them back up. You got to break down their bad habits. And that takes some time. But I can tell you, this buyer has been working with me now for 4 years. I've only done one loan for him. He won't even go to he needs a contractor, he calls me, because he knows that I'm looking out for his best interests, and I've got him on a plan to get him here to get to that level. And it's very important that your lending partners aren't just there selling programs. Oh my God, that payment's too high for you. Let's get you in a 1.0 buy down. Well, what happens after the first year? Then we get back into that conversation. Well, rates are going to go down. You just refinance. Have you really looked out for your client by just putting him in that program without knowing anything about anything else financially for him? And this is where the lending industry needs to get better to support our people that are buying homes and the agents that are selling homes to start dealing with buyers in the way that they need to be dealt with. Because in the automated world of today, very few people know what they spend. 75% of my buyers don't have a clue how much they spend per month. We look at their bank statements and go, whoa, that girl buys Starbucks twice a day. $10, 30 days, that's $300 a month on just coffee. My coffee for the month costs $22.
So I think we're all, I mean, for the most part, on board with you on this. And we've talked to Dan, you know, about this, and for lack of a better term, and from a place of love, Dan beats us down also, right? To get this messaging across. So is there a way, like how would you, in combination with Dan, distill this into marketable talking points, sort of a strategy around how we open up these broader conversations with clients? Because this is it's like turning a ship that's already in motion, right?
Yep. So for your buyer presentations, it's like, look, hey, we'll offer, and talk to your lending partners. And you want to talk to the lending partner who has a financial or economic background. You don't want to just go give them Joe Blow, who's just slinging loans left and right. You got to get to somebody that you actually trust financially with some of your conversations, and say in your buyer presentations, like, look, not only are we going to set you up to find your home on it, but we're going to go through your budget with you. We want to make sure you get in the right spot. And we'll offer you a free budget session as well to get you set up and go through things on it. And I do it with I do 25 to 30 loans a month, and I do it with probably 60% of my buyers. And we have tools that we can do it in a fly. You can take 3 months of bank statements and 3 months of credit card statements, upload them into ChatGPT, and it'll create a budget for you in 10 minutes.
Amazing.
Yeah,
You don't need what you think the old school role where you have to create an Excel spreadsheet. You can do it in a fly.
No.
And then you just need to take the data and go, this is where you spend your money. What do you want to stop? Because for you to afford this home, you need to be in this range spending wise. Is this something you can do? No, we really, really are tied to this. And I'm like, well, you maybe want to buy a $30,000 or $40,000 cheaper home then. And I have these conversations with people, and I've told buyers, and again, this isn't to scare you, but there's some buyers that shouldn't be buying homes. I'll tell them, you're not in a position to buy a home right now. You don't qualify, number one, but number two, you wanting to fix your credit is one thing, but you have $53 in the bank. Where's your savings? So you're not paying your bills and you're not saving. Why do you want to buy a home? Now you have to get into that psychology from there. That's a whole different gamut, because that's normally someone who's just had years of really bad luck or whatever. And you got to figure out a way to flip that script. Those are a little trickier, but you'd be surprised on it. I have 70-year-old buyers that come in and ask every single day, can you look at my numbers and see what we can do to afford more of a home? So offering that up front in your buyer presentation, knowing that your lending partner is willing to do it when you set them up on it, is a great way to introduce this conversation. And it does two things. One, it lets them know you care about them financially. And number two, that you're going to send them to someone that you trust. So it builds that relationship with your team so that you guys can move forward together and you and your lending partner are on the same page when it comes to these kind of things. So that is how I approach it with agents. Dan will send me a client. Hey, they need some help. He sent me a client a week and a half ago. He's like, I don't think she's gonna be able to get a loan, but she needs some help. Talk to her. And I went through everything with her, and she's got a game plan now, and she can't get a loan. But these are the kind of things that are important for you to set up with your partners to do these kind of things. And it's the number one way to do it. And it's just to do it because do I think you could do it yourself? Yes. That's not your job, though. This is where you got to trust your lending partner to get inside and dig in deep with them financially. And if you don't trust them to do that, you have the wrong partner. Because those are the kind of partners that are needed now.
Well, I think this is a good reminder for us too, because it's like, as much as a lot of us want to think we don't have commission breath, it's like we're in the same, it's not like we're exempt from some of the things you're saying, right? It's like budget struggles, all of that. So it's like, who's in front of me that can buy right now? And we forget about the long-term nurtures. We forget about building this. And it's like, you look at all of the top producing agents in our brokerage, pretty much anywhere, where does their business come from when they're a few years in, 5 years in, 10 years, 15? It's from referrals. It's from these relationships that they're building. And it starts with conversations like this and nurturing it, which then leads to, oh, you have to nurture these clients and you don't have anyone buying right now. Well, guess what that means? You need to go out and do more lead gen. That means you need more people in your database. That means you need to be having more conversations.
Yep. And I will tell you, when you start having these deep conversations with people, lead gen becomes less important. I do zero lead gen at all. 41% of my clients year to date are repeat clients or referrals from past clients, not realtors. I'm telling you guys, it works wonders on people because they feel that you care about them. That's the biggest thing. People they want to feel that they matter and they want to feel that they're cared for. They don't want to be mothered and fathered. They want to feel that they matter and that they're cared for. And there's a very big distinction there. We don't want to tell them what to do. We want to show them how to do it. And that's the big key on it. But it is a huge game changer for people when it comes to this. And all of a sudden you'll be like, yeah, I'm going to refer my sister over to you. You did such a great job and your lending partner did an awesome job. We want to do the same thing with you on it. And can you please talk to my sister because she's a train wreck.
I know Dan's going to probably chime in and say this. We've gone like super over time. I know people are going to start jumping off. And then we have the broker roundtable today at 9, Dan, I think.
No, next week.
Okay. But for those that are left on the call, and I'm going to be vulnerable for a second, Dan challenged us to get in and do our budget. Dan challenged us to break down and look at our own finances. Has any single person that's still on this call actually done that? Because I have not. Nice, Aaron did. And I think that's a great, like, thank you so much, Steve, for like not only just bringing all of this knowledge, but like breaking this down in a way that is digestible, right? And then translatable to how do we take this and then go be better at our jobs. But I think it stems from also like drink your own Kool-Aid, right? Go through your own budget. Let's assess this ourselves, because I know that anytime I put something into practice that Dan says, it's like, do this and then go talk about it to other people, do this or go share your experience, tell your story. That just has so much more energy behind it to say, you're not going to believe I did the same thing and I saw X, Y, and Z. And that's what I want to, be able to bring you guys as a team of experts, resources, etc., so that we can actually accomplish the goals that you want and make that dream come true.
Absolutely. And what she's speaking about, this is Christina, right? That's speaking?
Yeah. Yep.
What she's speaking about is this is humanity. You're emoting to them to give them the freedom to emote back to you. This is how relationships work. We just have been in the last 5 years, we've been in the relationship of what do you want? Perfect. Let's go get it. And that's got to change. We got to get back to the fundamentals of selling and nurturing and dealing with clients like they're part of our group instead of just a client that you're going to get a commission off of. It's a huge mindset change, but I'm telling you right now, I don't worry about commission anymore. You know what I worry about? Man, did I take care of every client this month as good as I could have, or what could I do better with my clients next month? And the better I get and the more I learn and the more I pivot to what did and didn't work, I pivot away from things that don't work and I pivot harder into things that do work. It just comes. I hate to say that, it just comes. People are like, oh, you need lead gen. No, I don't need lead gen. I just get calls all the time for random stuff. The next thing you know, I've got 25 deals in the market. And it was a mindset for me because I used to be a lead gen person. I used to be this guy who used to go out and, hey, you want to go do some coffee? Let's start doing business together. Give me your first lead right now. Give it to me. I'd beat down real estate agents. I don't talk to any real estate agents anymore. They call me. Kind of crazy. I'm in the lending world. You probably get calls every week for real lenders. I haven't called on a real estate agent to get their business in probably 7 years. I get real estate agents that call and want to do business with us because of the way we handled a transaction or what that client said, but I don't actually chase business at all anymore. And it's a mindset change, and it scared the shit out of me in the beginning, to be frank, guys. I'm like, I'm going to cancel out all my leads coming in and I'm just going to start doing business this way. Truth be known, I tiered it down over 6 months because I was so freaked out. And then I noticed that I wasn't paying attention to my lead gen anymore. And I'm like, I don't need my lead gen anymore. I canceled it.
Now, I will put a huge broker caveat on that. If you're not in a position where you have that big of a database and able to nurture and grow and have those relationships with the amount of people Steve does, you need a lead gen to get there.
100%.
Approach everybody, as you newbies on the call, approach everybody with the opportunity to solve a problem, get in relationship with them, and then be a realtor. And that's where Steve's,
Yep.
training is coming to, guys, is it's lifestyle over logic. Just because logically we can say you're going to gain 20% in your house right now, that's not the win. The win is paring back what they're trying to do to the lifestyle needs and desires that comes with it. Any other final thoughts and questions, comments for Steve?
Can I just say something? This is Caitlin. I was on a team that basically treated talking about finances like taboo. Like it was not our place to insert into our client's business. And like that was like what they dealt with the lender. You don't ask questions. And I just feel like this was such a really great like reframing of how to look at relationships and being there for our clients. And like, just like Christina said, I feel like I got so much out of this call just personally that it's going to help me better help my clients. So thank you, Steve. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Steve's
Absolutely.
the
And
best.
Caitlin, tell us a little bit about Spencer for those who can still be on the call.
Yeah.
What was Spencer's impression of the sales process for both buying and the lending process during this? Because this guy was a guy where I had to go through budgets with him, all of these things. And I don't work with Caitlin normally, just so you guys know. I've known her for years. She worked with someone else in my branch, but he was out and this was a unique client and he wasn't really feeling the other loan officer in our branch. So I took over for it. How did it go with the Spencers?
So at first, he was very timid. He was, it was almost like a scared puppy, right? He was calling me, asking me tons of questions, and just like, he was like not feeling secure, right? And he was asking me a bunch of questions that I was not able to answer. And I started panicking. So I had talked to Dan and Dan said, call Steve. Steve will be able to help you. So I called Steve and I gave him a full breakdown. And I just said, can you please just answer his questions? Like he just needs someone to tell him what to do. Like that's what he was trying to get me to do. And I was like, I don't know it's not my position, So once I recommended him to Steve, after the first conversation, he was like, I'm doing exactly what Steve said. And if this works out, then we're going to be good. And then Steve was able to make everything happen. My client was good about getting everything to him pretty quickly. And Terrence went from being so scared to just talking with so much confidence. He was like, Steve's got me. He called Steve, I feel like daily.
It was daily.
yeah. And he trusted him like it was his brother. Like he felt so much ease and so much trust that we had a ton of things pop up on our Binzer. They needed a new roof that was.
We lost you, Caitlin.
And what's? Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So we went through a really difficult Binzer. They needed a whole entire new roof, and the seller didn't have the funds to be able to do that. He was only able to give us a $5,000 credit, and Steve was still able to make everything work for my clients, and they still felt secure. They were able to get, I think, like $5,000 of concessions put towards debt. Correct, Steve?
That is correct. We put it towards debt.
Yep.
And then we set up a budget for them for the next 3 months to save the $6,000 they needed to do their roof replacement so they can do it in January of this year. Because the roof is not it's not failing at this point, but it's going to fail. So they need to get some roof work done on it. So we set them up on a budget. And we basically said, look, this is where you have to spend at. Do not use any credit cards. You use your debit cards only. If you spend past this limit, no offense, you're eating popcorn the rest of the month. And they're like, and he was a Marine and he's like, done. He goes, I've got it down. He goes, I won't deviate from this at all.
Yeah. And when he made this post on Facebook, and in the post, he said, thank you so much to Fairway Independent Mortgage. They made this happen. And you can tell that he just had a totally different mindset shift. And I think it was a really nice welcome to Tucson because they were not doing the best in Colorado.
And all we simply had to do, guys, was change his mindset around money, debt, and things he needs and wants for him and his wife. So much so where I said, during the transaction, his wife got a new job down here in Tucson, hated it. I said, quit. She goes, what? I'm buying a home. I'm like, we're not using that income. You know you can afford it without it. We've got your budget set up on just Terrence's income. If you're not happy, it's going to bring down your husband. It's going to bring down the rest of your family, and it's going to bring down your mental well-being. If the job is a drag and the owner is a misogynist jerk like you're saying he is, leave. You'll find another job. The world will give you everything you need.
That's empowering.
And when I said that to them, they were like, what? I'm like, find another job. She found another job in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Happy as a clam. She's like, I can't believe the amount of freedom you gave my wife. That's what Terrence said to me. I'm like, I just said something that no one else wanted to say, but no one wants to be in a job they hate. Everyone should tell you that if you're in a job you hate, get out of it.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Thank you so much. That's
Yeah.
I was joking. I'm just going to get out of the job now.
no, sorry, you can't.
Yep.
Well, we have slowly lost the herd, but we know that a lot of people had to jump off for the team integrity call. Guys, I put Steve's number on his name. I put his name, phone number, and email in the chat. If you have not pulled it down, do so. That's his cell phone, call, text. Great resource. And this isn't a sales pitch to get you guys to use Steve. If you find value in them, fuck yeah, use them. Use our vendor partners. I want him to come on here and have conversations around what do we need to take to capture the market and help our clients, especially when the Fed's going to be dropping the announcements that rates came down, and now they're going to think rates are going down and mortgages. In reality, they went up.
Yep.
Let's thank Steve again. And
Steve.
Thank you guys for having me.
So thank you again, Steve, for
awesome.
my agents.
Yes.
Love to do that for us. Thank you again for being part of my tribe. So
Yep. Many blessings to you all, guys.
the rest of you.